What do you see when you look at me? I mean, literally. What do you see? Obviously, you see someone from the shoulders up. You see a red pair of glasses on a face, short, dark hair, a polo shirt. Maybe that means this person is trying to be professional but still be casual. You see what could be a chair behind the person. There's an institutionally, clinically white wall behind them with no decoration on it whatsoever. There's a lot of things you can think about. There's a lot of things to notice. But there are even way more things that you don't notice or know about me just by looking. You also have to listen. But if I don't say anything, what is there to listen to? Hi, my name's Marlon Deleon, and this is my TED Talk. Today we're talking about hashtag storytelling saves lives. Yeah. So back in 2016, I was part of a show called This Is My Brave in the Chicago area, specifically in Valparaiso, Indiana. A social worker friend of mine sent me audition information for a local show that was auditioning that wanted to tell stories of people living with or loving someone who lives with or manages mental illness and addiction. If you check them out, thisismybrave.org. Thisismybrave.org. They're an organization based in Virginia, and they've been around for 5 or 6 years. The idea started back in 2011 by Jennifer Marshall. She started a blog based on her adventures and trials of living with bipolar. And so her blog, Bipolar Mom Life, is what started this whole snowball. And it has grown into quite the adventure. Since 2014, there have been 75 different shows across the U.S., about 875 storytellers. Many of the stories, if not all of them, you can find on YouTube. I'm not going to give away my entire story. I can't remember how long it is, an 8 to 10 minute video on YouTube if you search my name, Marlon Deleon, as well as This Is My Brave. Fair warning that there is discussion of child abuse and other things that may be triggering, so just a little content warning for people coming up that there are some things that I wanted to mention ahead of time. So yes, storytelling saves lives. Because it does. It's saved mine. Suicide is something that's not often talked about, and it's the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., according to the CDC. And you've seen it's just hard to talk about sometimes that we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide. And veteran health is something important to me because I'm a Navy vet. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, disabled vet. And there are just so many reasons that we need to start talking to each other. One of the other hashtags of This Is My Brave is a hashtag End the Stigma, and talking about mental health a little bit more. And that's just one of the things. And I think my journey of storytelling saves lives starts in the 5th grade. I say that because in the 5th grade, I remember having a journal, not a diary, a journal, and I would write in it near about every night about things that I enjoyed, things that scared me, things I was worried about, things that I thought nobody else knew, things that I thought nobody else might ever hear. And that evolved as I got older into a blog, and which I shared publicly on social media, whether it be through Blogger or Blogspot or into Facebook notes and then into WordPress and those types of things, that tweeting them out and sharing them and emailing them and sharing stories. And I figured that if I could look back and read these stories and realize that I learned from them, that somebody else might be able to read these stories and learn from them as well. There's an organization called It Gets Better. itgetsbetter.org is their website, and it's a very straightforward message for LGBTQ youth that it gets better. And that's the thing that's been being pushed with storytelling, with the Me Too movement, and people finally speaking up and standing up to their abusers and speaking in the face of these things that so many people believe is taboo, that we need to start talking about them. right after my son was born in December of 2018, less than a week later, I tried to commit suicide. And I was hospitalized for a week in a local inpatient facility and had been diagnosed that week with bipolar type 2 as well as major depression. And that was a turning point in my life. The last 5 years have been a huge transition for me. I've gone through a lot of big changes, and mental health has been at the forefront of them. And so since my participation in This Is My Brave, I've become a really strong advocate of mental health storytelling, and especially with the health of the VA. Like, the VA reports that veteran suicides are happening at 1.5 times the rate of non-veteran adults. The CDC reports that in 2018 there were over 48,000 suicides, and it's weird when they say successful suicides, because that means that the person actually died, and that's not even a success in any way. Nobody wins from that situation. So these are really tough things to think about. That the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention shares that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., just in the U.S. alone. And in 2018, there were 1.4 million attempts of suicide. And those are only the ones that are reported. This is something that happens all over the place. Not just in the U.S., not just especially one age group. It happens among the elderly, it happens among veterans, it happens among women, it happens among men, it happens among Asians, among blacks, among whites, among Latinos. It's all over the place. And I think back to, even though I don't, identify as an LGBTQ community member, that it gets better. It does. And I have to remind myself of that constantly, and that we need to tell stories to each other, because you may not know that I'm a first-generation American. You probably don't know that both my parents are Filipino, and there may be somebody out there watching this video who is a first-generation American that doesn't know anyone living in the Midwest, that would like a shoulder to lean on and ears to listen. When I was a classroom teacher, a lot of my students would tell me, "You got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you better listen twice as much as you talk." Well, okay. But if I'm going to listen more people need to speak up. So here's a short list of some of the things that make me me, in addition to some of the ones that I've mentioned earlier. I'm a first-generation American. I was born in California. My parents are Filipino. I'm a disabled U.S. Navy vet. I'm a NASCAR fan. I love college football, Boomer Sooner. I love pro football. I'm a Niners fan, have been since childhood. I grew up watching the greatest basketball player of all time. Michael Jordan is the GOAT, no questions asked. Don't at me. I am a husband. I am a father. I am divorced. I got remarried. I have a son and a daughter. I was raised Catholic. I am currently Christian. There's so many things that we can talk about, but we have to talk to each other. We have to listen. We have to share. So remember that storytelling saves lives. Talk to each other. Talk to your kids. Talk to your family members. Talk to your friends, coworkers. Talk to strangers. Your life is more important than you think it is, and it's way more exciting than you may believe it is. So share your story.